It's time for the Maximum PC No BS podcast, episode 235 for the week of October 27th, 2014. On this week's episode, we're going to be delving into some new Alienware products, unlimited storage with OneDrive, Chromebooks, and also we have a very big announcement for you guys. All that and more is coming up right now. Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and start with the elephant in the room.
Gordon's an elephant.
So
I was laughing about that. When you said okay, it started up Google. Because every time somebody says okay,
really, I thought it was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be.
Look, and now
okay,
it's typing.
Google.
Somebody says okay.
No,
it's actually recording this whole entire conversation
your
right
phone
now.
is not. It's supposed to only do that when you say okay.
I mean, Gordon's serious.
No,
it literally started like saying or typing out what he was saying.
I've never had that happen with Google.
Because if you have it set to recognize okay Google, then it just does that, right?
Right, but he didn't say okay Google.
It's not.
He said okay Gordon.
I see. Because
hold on, let me try that with your phone.
It's infallible, right?
What happens if I say?
Horrible start to the podcast.
Okay, Gordon. Okay, Gordon. Yeah, I can't recreate it. Did I do that? Did I trigger it?
Yeah.
Okay, Google.
You said okay. You said okay, and then it started it.
So, anyways, on that note, so as you guys might know, we've had some industry guests on the show recently, and we have to admit it, we have been getting paid under the table.
Yeah.
And Gordon has been getting the brunt of the paychecks.
I finally have enough now.
The brunt of the paychecks.
Yes, the brunt of the paychecks.
It's just we just can't stop it.
Life,
we can't just
cash all
yeah.
Right.
So Gordon is cashing out. Is that right, Gordon?
Yes, I am actually cashing out. And
for the record, we're not actually taking money.
Yeah, Jimmy's just pulling your legs. I am. This is actually my last appearance on the podcast, and after 16 years of Maximum PC doing this continuously, it is actually time to move on and do something differently, doing something at a different place, basically.
That part is true.
Doing something at a different place, which I'm not going to mention here because we probably shouldn't. Right. And I'm not going to work at Apple. Right. I mean, I can be like a non and get a job at Apple.
I do suspect that Gordon is leaving because he secretly wants to try out some Apple products and he just doesn't want to disappoint us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm confident the next time I see Gordon, he's going to be wearing Google Glass and he has an iPhone and he's like, these are actually pretty good, guys.
Right. But no, in all seriousness, it's been a good run. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
You must have seen some shit. You've seen the evolution of the platform. It's amazing what you've seen.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because somebody actually, look, check out this video. Somebody, look, this is crazy. This is came up from somebody on Twitter. But check out this video, man. It's like me and Will.
Oh.
You should put it up to the camera. Or
put it up next to the mic if you can as well.
Look at this. Computer Chronicles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, put it up next to the mic.
From 2001, dude.
Yeah, maybe that camera right there. So your mic and
I don't know if this microphone is over here.
Yeah, you had hair back then. I've never seen you with hair.
Oh, is he on camera
it's
here?
It's expensive hair.
Expensive hair. Is it a wig?
That's a pretty high quality video.
It's on YouTube.
So when was this, Gordon?
We should put the link to that up on when we post this podcast.
Yeah,
this is 2001. Will Smith, of course, the singer and rapper. We appeared on Computer Chronicles, which was an old TV show, I think on PBS Channel 9. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember ever going to the studio.
It was the haze of drugs, right?
But check this out, though. There's an Alienware box we're looking at, but
that's Alienware?
Look at the wiring. Look at this.
That looks like something that I built in the 90s.
So there
was nowhere to put anything.
It's air cooling. Everybody uses kind of I think that was a Zolman can or something like that. Wow. Everybody loved those back then.
And if you mentioned like braiding your power supply cables, they would have thought you were like doing some sort of obscure European thing to your computer.
But the funny thing is, I mean, just look at the inside of that box, man. Wait, where's the... Oops. Where the hell was it?
Oh, it's a green. It's a big green. And
yeah.
That keyboard is hideous.
This is when Alienware was actually still Alienware, too.
Before they got bought by Dell.
But it was, it's kind of funny because we look back and kind of laugh. It's just all it was is a painted case, right? But that was like groundbreaking in 2001. People were like, holy shit. Of course, they had the matching mouse and keyboard too, so it was pretty impressive.
Is that a CRT monitor back there?
Oh, it has to be, right?
I think so. But wait, I'm trying to find this video where it has a close-up of the inside of the case. But look at that.
Yeah.
Look at the wiring, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is like, for people who know, this is like
should show that
70s
to one of the
porn,
cameras so
right?
people
I
can
mean,
see
look
what
at
you're
this.
talking about.
Look at all that damn...
Yeah, it's like the...
They haven't heard of a razor?
Yeah.
That's before there was razor.
It's, yeah, before Razor the company.
Can you grab that?
Yes.
The camera so I can...
Yeah, right there. So this is what it looks like.
That was pretty normal, circa...
that one,
You
yeah.
know, this is something that looks like I would have built myself at home. I'm kind of surprised that it's an Alienware rig.
Yeah.
Well, but, back then, it was a different world back then. I mean, people kept... Alienware went up. They were the first sort of like, hey, we're going to do these paint jobs. And, that was like kind of blew everybody away. And then, Voodoo stepped up with like, hey, we're going to do these super braided cables and, the folded cable and all that kind of stuff. And everybody was, back then it was like Falcon, Alienware, and Voodoo. That was it as far as kind of like high-end computers. Then everybody kind of got into it. But it's just amazing what computers look like. I mean, those really wide parallel ATA cables.
It does seem like the boutique system builders pushed for the cosmetic part of
The internals.
fancy computers.
Well, yeah, definitely. If you picked up an OEM box from, one of the big boys, it'd be a lot worse than that, right? So,
Right.
And of course, it also took these guys to put, at the time they put 2 Voodoo 2 cards in them. They were the first ones to put, crap loads of cards and sound cards and everything. You really couldn't get that from, HP and Dell and any of those big companies at the time.
Yeah.
What was the first issue that you worked on? Do you remember the month?
So the first issue I worked on Maximum PC, well, it was Boot actually. It was, when did I come in? It was like must have been like a June or July issue of Boot. Still calling it Maximum PC.
What year?
90, I think it was 97.
11.
Because September 96 is when Boot started, first Dream Machine. And then I came in probably about 2 months before the first Dream Machine issue came up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, let me think. 97? Yeah, it must have been a few months later. So,
And for those that don't know, can you talk about like how Boot, I guess, turned into Maximum PC? I still don't even know why you guys did the name change, actually.
well, and actually people don't even know, it goes back further. So Mac Life, which is a sister magazine to Maximum PC, right? So Maximum PC and Mac Life, both of those started as Mac Addict. Mac Life used to be Mac Addict, and Maximum PC, of course, used to be Boot. And people don't know, but they both actually used to be CD-ROM Today. So there used to be a magazine put out by Imagine Media. It was called CD-ROM Today because we know, look, you can get 650 megabytes of data on a disk. That's like incredible.
So we were doing digital magazines way before it was cool.
Well, there was you got the disk, and it's like because the CD-ROM was the future. Remember, people would build up libraries of CD-ROM. You can get an entire encyclopedia on a CD-ROM.
Yeah, I used to have those in Encyclopedia 95 or whatever it was called.
Right.
Yep.
So, the company started on CD-ROMs, and then at some point they realized there was this thing called the internet, and and then they killed CD-ROM Today. They created Boot for PC enthusiasts with Brad Dawson's editor-in-chief, and then Mac Addict. I forget who was the first EIC of Mac Addict.
What's Brad Dawson up to these days?
I haven't heard from Brad in years. I know that we were both in the same movie. There's an editor. His name is Rick Popko.
I still haven't seen this movie.
So the first
Gordon's
movie
actually on IMDb.
You gotta
can
send
look
us
him
a
up.
DVD sometime because I don't think they show it.
It's on Netflix.
Is it?
It is on.
Holy
I think it
moly.
is. Let me see because
Can you bring that up, like the scene that you're in up, and we can watch it on the air?
I don't know. I don't
Aren't
know.
you,
Let me
like,
see. Can we do that? Can we get sued for that?
It's okay, you're in it though, right? And I think that's.
Well, I don't think I quite covered.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't do that. But I can.
You can say what the movie is, and you can talk.
Well,
about
let me see
them.
if we can find it. We're not going to get sued.
Probably not.
I mean,
Rick-
who?
Rick is not gonna
Who
sue
owns
us.
the movie?
Well, Rick Popko, who was an editor, who was the reviews editor when I started. In fact, the first month I started, he started as a reviews editor, and his dream he'd always been a movie guy. He always wanted to make his feature length movie. Little did we know his feature length movie would be about poo. And
What is the movie called and about?
let's see, results for Monsterd.
Monsterd.
Sorry, maybe
geez.
they don't have it anymore. It used to be
yeah.
on Netflix.
MONSTURD. Monsterd.
Yeah, some interesting things have happened out of Maximum PC in the movie realm. I don't know if you've mentioned it on the podcast before, but Gary Whitta used to be a contributor at Maximum PC.
Yes, Gary, of course, pretends he did not ever work here, and I will put this on the
Let's
record
call him
now.
out on it.
Because, I mean, like, Gary doesn't care now, for God's sake. He's living in Hollywood Star Wars land. That's like, holy shit, that's like five rings above us of hell,
so you
right?
should mention what he's done for.
So people don't know. At one point, Gary Whitta, although he will never publicly admit it for some reason, and blocks it out of his memory. At one point, he was working on a magazine called Total Film, which, publishing. We'll be honest, is some things last, some things don't. Total Film did not last, and then what they did was they moved him on to Maximum PC for I think maybe 3 issues. I'm not even sure what he did. He sat in like a cubicle like 25 yards from us, and he worked on Maximum PC while he got his green card. Mm-hmm. So he basically was able to, because he was still an employee of the company.
Yeah.
The company was like, he's so close to, being a U.S. citizen, we can't send him back to dreary old London, England, right? So they put him on Maximum PC for a few months. He was able to get his green card, and now, of course, he's working on Star Wars.
Yeah, he's writing the script for one of the next Star Wars movies, right?
Right. But I don't think Gary ever remembers ever working for Maximum.
According to IMDb, he's attached to one of the scripts, but it's not clear in what capacity.
Yeah.
He might be the main writer. He might be something else.
He also did he write or direct the Book of Eli?
Yeah, he did actually, which is actually a good movie.
Did he direct it as well?
No, he did not direct.
Okay, so he wrote it. Okay. And did he write stuff for Star Trek, or am I thinking about somebody else?
Oh wait, here's the official trailer for Monstered.
Oh, are you in the trailer?
No, but it's funny.
Okay, let's. I can hold it up against. Or you probably should hold it up against the camera and mic somehow.
Right.
Yeah, the trailer should be fair use, right?
Sure. Rick's not going to care. This is free
Does
publicity.
he own
for
the
him.
rights, or is it like some studio? I don't know how this works.
He does own it.
I'm trying to think. So it's probably you probably want to point it at that one, and then put it behind like. I think the mic should be. Yeah, there you go. Probably something like that.
Daddy, I can't sleep. Can you show me a bedtime?
So right now we're seeing this. For those that are listening, we're seeing like it's almost like a girl in her bedroom. It's at night, and she's.
But it's real scary.
And you have like a scientist looking into a microscope, and looks like.
You do this kind of service professionally.
Yeah.
Some guy was shot, and he was a prison guy. Now they're in prison.
It's all happening too
cops.
fast.
One of the best films of the year.
That was Brad.
Oh, now
That's Rick
the
right
police
there.
officer is shoving a doll up against the wall for some reason. Like a police car, helicopter. There's no context to any of this. It's just stuff. Is that?
Oh, that was
you?
me. Yeah, that was me.
Oh, sweet. Gordon got like stabbed in the neck or something.
Shot by a dart.
Yes, according,
okay.
according to the credits, he plays sewage night manager.
Yes.
Sweet. And looks like are they in the sewage right now? You have a scientist in lab coat. Some guy masturbating furiously or something. I don't know what that was.
I think he was just screaming.
There's like blood all over the place.
Living in the sewer, dragging people down into their toilets.
A monstered.
Yes, that's pretty much the premise of Monstered.
And turd is spelled T-U-R-D, in case you were wondering. One of these guys isn't you, is it, Gordon? So how'd you get that gig?
Because Rick Popko, who was a reviews editor on Maximum PC, started on Boot as well. He needed free extras. So basically, hey, anybody making a movie, they just get everybody they know to be a free extra.
Gotcha.
Right. So I did have a speaking role, but I was uncredited. But through the greatness of the internet, I added myself to IMDb.com.
Sweet.
Yeah, he did make a sequel too, Retarded, which I am also briefly in.
Retarded?
Retarded.
Is it spelled like in an odd way?
Retard?
Ed.
E-A-D.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You'd have to see it. You can rent it on Netflix.
Apparently not, though. You just try to look it up,
Well, they
right?
used to stream it, but who knows? Netflix. Holy shit.
Okay.
Hey, they're probably like, well, this is too expensive. Why don't we get some more of these South Korean soap operas that you can't understand? So, Netflix. Come on.
And then there was somebody else who worked on Star Trek or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Was that Gary Whitta or is that somebody else?
No, well, he's a columnist. Of course, David Gerald wrote. He actually created the Tribbles and wrote the original show Bible for the Next Generation. But he had a spat I don't even know what all the details are. I'm going off the Wikipedia information, but somehow he ended up not really working on Next Generation, even though he sort of wrote the show Bible for it. He was a writer on
He created the
original
Warbles
series.
or whatever it's called.
He created the Tribbles.
Tribbles, yeah.
You know, we actually did
Those little hairy
maybe
balls.
3 years ago. We did, gosh, is it longer? Maybe 4 years ago. We actually we built the Star Trek themed PC for Comic-Con.
Right, it was really heavy. As I
he
recall.
he wrote a guest column on the website for many years.
You can buy some of his Star Trek writing on Amazon actually.
Yeah.
And it's Gerald is Gerrold.
Yep.
So just like higher level stuff, I mean, like you've been very close to the metal for a very long time. Like what has been the biggest surprises for you in the industry and
I think the biggest surprise, honestly, is that, and it just shows you how strong it is. Like, who would have thought?
This is bothering me. I gotta move it because that's OCD.
It's okay. It's a review unit.
So Gordon just put a Coke can
Condensation.
on a laptop.
I'm
Right.
testing it. It's a Chromebook, all right?
Ring
If I break this, I don't
stain
care. I just get another one.
Yeah, but
log in.
just I like computers too much to let you do that.
All right, so the biggest news to me that is very interesting, over 16 years, and of course originally I started working on Boot, which under Maximum PC. I really didn't think it was going to last that long. I wasn't just kind of just taking a break from being a newspaper reporter, but I've been here for 16 years, and then all that time, every year, the fucking mainstream media says PCs are dead.
Right.
Every year.
They're not
Every
saying that-
year,
they're not
it's
saying
dead,
that
it's dead, it's dead. Well, you know what? 16 years is still going strong. And frankly, PCs, gaming PCs, enthusiast PCs.
They've never been stronger.
Never been stronger as far as I can tell. And that is actually amazing if you think about it. So after 16 years, every year you hear like, yeah, it's over. Yeah, it's over. I mean, everything, right? So people at one point, I remember when we first started, we had some smart dude, you know, which is smart guy, which means actually not a smart guy, an executive collecting tons of money. We were having a conversation. He's like, yeah, it's over for the PC because, you know, we're in the free PC. Remember the free PC? You guys probably don't, but in probably the late 90s, the concept was everything is just going to go free. It'll be sponsored. So you'll get your free computer, but there'll be
Okay.
ads, and you'll get you get your PC for free. You get on the internet. In fact, that's free too, but you have to watch ads in order to get your free computer.
Net
and get
zero.
free-
Yeah, I actually did that for a little while when I was a poor college student.
Yeah,
Right, net zero.
Yeah.
But there was this really people were pushing that free PC thing, and of course back then it was like, oh my god, the sub $1,000 PC.
yeah,
sub
I remember
$1,000.
e-machines
People were
being
just
really
like-
cheap.
Yeah.
They're crap and loaded with software.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them credit for really understanding that kind of like free market, you know, that ultra low end. I remember meeting with them way back when, and I asked them what the secret was, and the secret was like, don't have any support calls because every
Don't have a
time
call center.
every time somebody calls you, well, no, it's not like they didn't. Well, I'm sure maybe they didn't. They just ignored you and you couldn't call them. But every time somebody picks up a phone to call you for help with a computer, it's $30 out of their pocket because you've got to pay somebody to answer that support call. And we know nothing's ever fixed in 5
And they
minutes.
used to charge you for, like some companies used to charge you for support.
Some of them did, but also a lot of the companies had to give you the free support. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to buy the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, really. So that sub 1,000, I think it may have started out as a sub $1,500 computer, then sub $1,000. And of course, we saw on Fry's the other day there was a POS desktop a system, keyboard and mouse for what, $180?
Yeah, it was there's a $250 list price, and they had a promo code that took $90 off. So it was an actual desktop PC, no monitor, but it was the case with everything in it.
Keyboard and mouse as well.
Well, there was a keyboard and mouse in the photo, but they didn't list that in the spec sheet, so I'm not sure if those are
I think it did.
in there.
It did.
Did
It
it?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, it
the
had
bottom.
keyboard and mouse.
Keyboard and
Okay.
mouse. Yeah.
And it's the thing that kind of got me was and this is interesting, is it actually is a computer with Windows.
Yeah.
So Windows A1 Bing Edition, which just means default is set to IE with Bing, and you
Yeah.
can change that. There's nothing preventing you from changing it, but basically a free operating system from the looks of it.
Yep. And it has a dual core Bay Trail CPU.
No, I thought it was A10 based.
Was it?
Oh wait, maybe it was actually Bay Trail because like
Yeah.
a J8100 Atom.
Yeah, BGA, so it's soldered in. It's J1800, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Intel.
Probably
So,
doesn't
yeah,
even
Bay
have
Trail.
a PCI Express slot in the motherboard, but still, for that kind of money, you can't really complain.
Yeah, you're basically paying for an $80 computer, right? With the OS being $100.
Well, that was
essentially.
probably given to them for free because of the Bing
Right.
thing.
But the value of Windows is essentially $100, so it's
Yeah.
like almost $80
That's
worth.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just reviewed that ECS Liva, Liva. That thing was actually a killer deal because it's basically an ultra small computer for, I think it was like 180 was the one I looked at. no OS though, so you had to bring OS. And when I was talking to say, hey, you guys thought about getting Microsoft to let you load Bing into it, or Windows 8 Bing. And they said they haven't had any luck, but I mean, honestly, you get that little tiny computer with Windows 8.1 on it, and it's very usable. Just a little dual-core, Bay Trail box.
I'm surprised that Microsoft wouldn't hook up with ECS because those guys have been around for a long time.
I think it's a dual-edged sword because it's like, you know what? You want to be able to say, hey, look, buy this computer, $175. It comes with everything. So a lot of like Nook, bricks, you got to add memory, you got to add storage, right? This thing came with 16 gigs or 32 gigs worth of storage. Processor and RAM all soldered, BGA, all in a little tiny machine. Once you add an OS to it, though, it gets it up to $300. It's cool because it's like, hey, it's a great deal. You got a fully functional computer for $180, but then you have this problem of like, hey, I'm having a problem because I downloaded this, or I went to a website, it said download, I clicked on download, and my computer doesn't work anymore, right?
Happens all the time.
Who are they going to call? Are they going to call Microsoft, or are they going to call ECS, right? And every time they call you, $30, right? So it's really not something you want to have people call you for. You just like, we make the hardware. If you have a problem with the hardware truly being DOA or bad, we'll fix it. But OS issues, you're on your own. So,
Gotcha.
So it's actually probably better not to actually include it, unless they sort of like, hey, we give you this machine, but here's a coupon to download this. So then you're dealing with it. So support it kills the ultra cheap computing segment.
Yeah, that's true. So going back to what you said earlier about the industry's prediction that the PC will die, and obviously it hasn't and is stronger than ever. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because technology doesn't stand still, right? I mean, the Alienware box we were looking at was probably like a Pentium 4 with a GeForce 2 card in it or something like that. And I mean, this phone here is more powerful than that, and this Bay Trail processor and Atom chip is probably faster than Pentium 4 in some ways. So you're always moving forward, and hey, back then you had a 2-megapixel camera or 1-megapixel camera. Now we've got 40-megapixel cameras. The stupid phone takes 4K videos. They're never going to stop. That's just how capitalism works, right? They got to make something new so you can buy it. So unless everybody actually believes that suddenly we're going to stop at 1080p, or we're going to stop at 4K, or we're going to stop at 40 megapixels, or we're going to stop at 32. There's just so many things they're just going to continue to push. 3D, 4K, 8K, 12K,
VR.
It's also a relatively open development platform. Like
I think that's what.
Right.
If you want to make a console game, then you have to pay Microsoft or Sony a fee, and then there's certification processes, and every time you want to put a patch in, you have to recertify and be a huge headache. Whereas with a computer, there's always going to be somebody who wants to try something with it, software-wise, and they can just experiment.
It's where innovation's going to be, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be something newer and better. Who the hell thinks? Does somebody somehow think the games or NVIDIA and AMD are going to stop making faster graphic cards, or Intel's going to stop making faster processors? The day they do that, it is over, truly. I mean, but I don't see that stopping anytime soon, because at the same time, people are pushing, we're going to hey, why don't we get 60 frame a second movies at 4K, or who knows, or 120 frames. It's just kind of.
As long as there's competition in the market, we'll see people trying to one-up each other all the time.
Right.
Like we see with AMD and NVIDIA and Intel and AMD, although not as much in recent days.
Right, or we say the same old shit with I'm going to come home one day and my phone will be my computer. I'll come home, my house will sense that I've come home. It'll turn on the monitor and keyboard, and then I'll sit down. It'll pick up exactly where I was at work or where I was in the car, start playing music. Yeah, whatever. It's like you're going to do that when you have your flying car too, right? Because we know technology never works that way.
Right.
And it's just like, no, because it's just simple physics. Do you ever think a stupid phone is going to be able to equivalent of what you can get out of a desktop, machine? With
I think
4 video cards and a 1,200 watt power supply.
Right.
No.
I think you sort of touched upon a key thing there. It's like, yeah, sure, phones are going to get more powerful, and they are more powerful than PCs we've had 10 years ago and whatnot.
Sure.
But I think the desktop will always be ahead, and that's what keeps it alive in that aspect. And enthusiast users and like our readers really care about those things.
I think phones are ultimately held back by having to rely on battery power to do their thing, whereas a desktop PC or even a laptop you can just plug into the wall and just max everything out.
Yeah, but even so, even laptops. I mean, of course, there's people who thought, laptops will replace desktops. Well, no. Actually, the latest data now is the growth is in desktops. People are going back to desktops.
Right. Tablet sales are declining.
Tablet sales are flattening out, right? And for actually Apple's numbers are down significantly in iPad sales. And laptops, actually, interestingly, are also down too. And actually, the only kind of shiny spot is in desktops, which I think a lot of that's all-in-ones, but I also do think a lot of that is also pushed by
PC gamers.
right?
I think there's also a replacement value issue where like the Nexus 7 2013 came out like a year and a half ago, and I feel no need to upgrade to
That's the thing.
the Nexus 9.
It's just a consumption device.
Right.
I
mean,
It's just a very
still
good
works.
all-around device that works well.
Yeah, you don't need 8 cores to read your book, your
Right.
digital book.
Yeah, and I do think the kind of funny thing about tablets and phones, though, is that they're not breaking them. You're not like going like, oh, I need to buy a new phone or I need to buy a new tablet because now I'm streaming 4K video or whatever. It's because usually what happens is your stupid phone company pushes out an OS update that bricks your phone or makes it slow, or people just kind of give up.
Or they stop updating their version of Android now, and several versions behind. You're like, well, there's some security things that we could patch and some new features here and there.
I don't even think it's the security though. A lot of people they buy their phone because it's slow. I must need to buy a new phone. So they've been trained to think I need a new phone.
Well, I think there's also a social thing, right? Because I see people walking around now with like iPhone 6, and I can see like people, with their iPhone 5S is looking over with envy, and it's like, well,
Right.
mine's like outdated, and then it looks like I look poor, and I look like a peasant.
Well, and look how tiny. I mean, the iPhone 5. Come on, we've all been using them now for about 6 months, and man, I don't know how anybody can use an iPhone 5. It's pathetic. The screen is just.
The screen's really small, and it makes it. I get constant mistypes on the virtual keyboard.
Right.
So do you have any other thoughts on the history of the Maximum PC or the industry?
No, I mean just that. I mean,
I'm
honestly,
sure we could talk about this for hours.
We could talk about this for hours. Things are, again, I think the industry is doing awesome. I will miss it. I'm hoping to be writing about enthusiast hardware in the new place I go, and I suspect I will. But it's a really fun, great place to be. I mean, it's a great little genre niche to be in. People love fast hardware, and Intel and AMD and NVIDIA and everybody and all the case companies and motherboard companies, and everybody keeps making better things.
It's a consistently interesting place to be.
Right. It's never the same old face, which is nice. Whereas, I mean, really, at some point, do you really need a new? When's the last time you got really excited about a new phone?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just like, whatever. Who gives a damn? It's all the same, really.
Right.
But at least with PCs, it's like, wow.
Yeah, it seems like the latest generation of phones are just a little over-engineered for what you're doing. They just keep upping the hardware, and it's like I'm just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, I do wonder when they're going to go over the cliff. Because obviously tablets are now.
Tablets have hit that.
Tablets are going over the cliff now, but eventually people with phones are going to be like, yeah, I really don't need.
I don't need
else.
8 cores to send a text or receive one.
Right. Exactly.
But don't you kind of wonder if they're actually now? Of course, people criticize Microsoft all they want, but every single machine capable of running Windows 7 or Windows 8, you're getting the latest updates, right? So you get updates.
Yeah, they kind of force them on you, actually.
Well, but I mean,
like on this damn laptop, I was like,
well, but they force it on you, but you can get it. Do you think at some point Samsung's going to leave this phone behind? Hell yes, because they do all the time, right?
Sure.
They just like, okay, you're off the life raft. They push you overboard.
Right.
And you're stuck with an OS that is just got massive security holes in it or slow or something broken on it, and like their fix is to buy a new one.
Yeah, Windows 7 has been out for 5 years now. I think they just stopped releasing it to retail just a few days ago.
Yeah, you can't buy a machine with it now, right?
Right.
So
that's been that case for a while, but now Microsoft just stopped manufacturing discs for anybody. I think they're just going to run out of inventory at some point. And then
but I think they're allowing even OEMs to sell them.
I don't know.
So although I imagine they must have to sell to enterprise customers, which is big business, right? So
yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So I guess we'll transition to one of our weekly topics. My topic is, so I recently saw, at this point in time, it's under NDA, but by the time we post this, it will be after the fact. And so recently I met up with Alienware in the city, and I finally got to see the Alienware, I think they're calling it the Alienware Area 51 desktop PC.
The triangle one?
Yeah, the triangle one. I think I called it like the triangle PC one time in an article online or something like that, and it's like, it's a hexagon, you idiot, or something like that. It was like,
what?
Well, I guess it technically has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides.
There's like six.
It's triangular shape though. The overall shape is triangular.
Yeah.
I'll have to get a look at it.
I mean, they call it the triad design or whatever.
Okay. How big is it? How tall is it?
So when I first saw pictures of it, I think they revealed it at like a PAX.
All right, but there was no like frame of reference.
Exactly. So I looked at it. I'm like, that thing looks cool and looks tiny, and then I saw it. So Gordon's pulling up a picture of it right now.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, that is more than 5 sides.
Well,
yeah,
overall,
I mean, it's six
Right.
points.
Right.
But kind of.
That's not a hexagon.
It's not quite.
If you drew
I don't
this
know, it's
and handed it in
That's
the 4th grade, yeah, you would get like an F.
That's a trapezoidodecahedron.
Yeah, what he said. So when I first saw it, I mean, it's definitely not a design for everybody, but I like seeing new stuff within the PC space. So I was like, that thing looks kind of small and looks really cool. And Gordon was explaining, he's like, no, that thing's got to be huge because it fits like a full-size motherboard and 3-way SLI with 980 cards. It's like, it's got to be huge. And we were just like, before we saw it, like physically, we were like, doing the hand gestures, like, how big do you think it is? And doing this whole entire left to right hand type of thing. And then I finally got to see it the other day, and it is freaking huge.
Well, but is it like 900D kind of size? Corsair 900D size?
So it's
Super
not
tower?
it's not as tall, but it takes up more desk space because it is longer.
Wow. I guess that's why they didn't provide any frame of reference when they announced the
Right. So I took some
Nice.
pictures of it. With my camera, and I put like a water bottle next to it. But oddly enough, like in the pictures, it actually doesn't, because it's a very weird shape that sort of creates like optical illusions. In the pictures, it actually doesn't look like huge. But then when you see it in person, you're like, damn, that thing is huge. And it's very interesting because so it has a very interesting look, obviously. But Alienware is saying they designed it in a way that helps with airflow. So it intakes air through the front, and that's generally where your ports are. Your optical drive is there as well, and then it has fans out of the back, and the back is not straight up and down vertical. It sort of curves, has like a slant to it, and the reason they say they incorporated that is to allow you to push it up against the wall so that air can flow outside of it freely. And that sounds pretty cool, but also you can sort of remedy that yourself by just not putting your desktop against the wall too,
Yeah.
and save yourself some money.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't have the space on your desk.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if it doesn't work out, I'm glad that companies like Alienware and Razer and Corsair are experimenting with designs.
So the picture that Gordon brought up right there, I mean, to me that looks pretty cool. I mean, it's very unique. It's not for everybody. Reaction is quite mixed from what I'm seeing, and Alienware is noticing that as well.
Yeah.
So when I posted the original story on our Facebook, people, half the people were like, "That's actually a really interesting case. Like, I just want to buy the case alone," and some people were like, "That's dumb. Just build your own computer."
I don't know. I'd like to build into the case. Looks interesting.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because Origin also has. Remember that at CES we saw the Origin case. It's fully modular, and then you can swap the motherboard tray out. You can actually flip it any which way. You can go left and right.
Yeah, we had
and
that.
bottom.
The Origin Genesis.
I think they have both mid tower and full tower versions of that.
Right.
It's pretty interesting.
I mean,
Custom
it's
designed.
Yeah, custom design. The cool thing is, and I thought it was pretty neat. I mean, we did get one for review, and it's pretty cool. I would actually like to build a system in there myself. But yeah, I don't understand why people don't understand why it would be cool to build into a different case. That's different than just a rectangular box,
Yeah.
So this I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure their airflow arguments really hold water, but I will say it looks damn cool. Which is
it looks
mostly
like,
why people do that. Why do you put LEDs in your case?
Because it looks cool.
It looks like after a space shuttle has landed and they've like fallen into the ocean, and the 3 guys have to get out of it. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh, the lander.
What do you call that? Yeah.
Lander module.
Escape pod? Space shuttle does not fall into the ocean, by the way. That's an epic fail.
Really? That's how they depict it in the movies.
The space shuttle?
Not the space
not the
shuttle.
space shuttle.
There's a module.
The pod that they're in, like Apollo 13, they
It's the
land in
tip
the
of the
ocean.
rocket.
The command module, yes.
Right.
It's just the tip.
It's the command module, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that.
CM, command module.
So I was telling Alienware, I'd love to see like a mini ITX version, maybe the size of like
Yes,
Alienware.
yes, that would be cool. What'd they say?
They were actually kind of surprised that I brought that up, and then they're like, like how big would it be? I was like, it'd be cool if it was the same size as the Alienware X51. That'd be awesome. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to fit 3 video cards in there, but
yeah. No, I gotta say, mini ITX cases are. I mean, there's some cool mini ITX designs out there. So, and it's actually really. I mean, I love big cases, but these little tiny ones are cool too. And there's also the in-win case. The one that's a roll bar. What the D frame. So there's like a mini ITX D frame too, which is really
that's
neat.
Cool.
Right. An Antec. Remember the Antec skeleton? They made a mini ITX. I know it's not that much smaller, which is the problem.
It's still kind of big.
And if you made this mini ITX, it really wouldn't be that small either.
Yeah.
No, it couldn't be as small as the X51, I don't think.
No, that's definitely a really small case.
Right. But the other big interesting thing that I saw from Alienware, and this is the one that's actually under NDA, is so right now in front of me is an Alienware 14, and they showed me an Alienware 13, you're
talking about the laptop?
Yes, the laptop. The Alienware 13, which isn't that new. They showed it off at PAX. It's a little bit thinner. But what is interesting about the Alienware 13 is that once it starts shipping, I think it's shipping this week actually, it's going to have a special proprietary port in the back that is a combination of PCIe and USB. And what this port will allow you to hook up is an enclosure for a desktop GPU, which essentially means that you can get desktop-grade graphics on a notebook. And you can put any video card you want into this enclosure, and it comes with its own power supply, and it costs $200. So that's pretty interesting. For a long time, people were complaining that laptops are not modular enough, and Alienware is attempting to fix this issue. Do you think it's going to take off?
It's kind of interesting because external PCIe has been batted around for a long time. We've had units in the lab, 6 years ago, and they've always been really crappy.
Why do you think it's never taken off?
I think it's because nobody could ever unify around one standard, and also the last one we had, which was 5 or 6 years ago, it was really buggy. Sometimes it would boot, sometimes it wouldn't boot. Plugging into the laptop is just a little wacky.
We saw some Thunderbolt stuff about a year ago.
Right. In fact, I actually pulled this up. This is the Silverstone Thunderbolt external graphics cabinet.
That's the one.
Yeah, and it's pretty neat. It has this handle on top. It takes a standard ATX power supply, and you can put basically a pretty fat video card in there, and then it hooks up to your device, using Thunderbolt, which is PCIe as we know, but of course not. You're not getting a full by 16 Gen 3, but you're still getting plenty for your graphics card out of a laptop anyway. I don't think I've ever seen this actually implemented. I saw this after CES, after everybody's still having their hangover mode. I don't even know if they ever sold it. I know they designed it along with Asus. So I imagine that Asus would try to do this at some point.
It seemed pretty expensive. The design they showed looked like it was basically another computer inside that box.
Well, there was no motherboard. And, of course, Silverstone does everything right. They do, their beautiful aluminum chassis stuff. And it was put together in a standard kind of beautiful Silverstone way.
Yeah.
Of course, you can see there's a Thunderbolt port there, a back of the power supply, and a video card. I don't know if they went anywhere with it, but the good news about what you're talking about is with Alienware behind it.
Yes.
Alienware is Dell. Right. Dell has massive pockets, big enough to hold an iPhone 6 Plus, right? And not bend it. So they've got the money to actually make something work. And the fact that they probably sell a crap load of these Alienware notebooks means that maybe it's a standard that everybody can kind of get around. I don't know if they're going to try to keep it for themselves.
Well, I know on the desktop that the issue has been that motherboards with Thunderbolt have been relatively expensive.
Yeah, and Thunderbolt has gone nowhere.
Because the Thunderbolt technology itself apparently is pretty expensive to license.
I don't think it's really the license. The ASICs are... I remember 2 years ago, I was talking with a hard drive vendor, a hard drive enclosure vendor, and they were telling me that the Thunderbolt chips were like $100.
Right.
And it was crazy, and I asked Intel, and Intel's like, no, that's crazy. How much do they cost? I don't know. We can't tell you that. Well,
so what's the difference between 0 and crazy? Can you be more specific?
Right. But we don't know. But the Alienware thing is not Thunderbolt, right? It's not.
Right. They told me it's a combination of PCIe and USB.
Right.
It means.
So I
And it's only being integrated into the Alienware 13. And I asked them if there were any plans to add it to the other laptops. And they sort of gave me a wink and said, we'll see. We haven't announced anything
Depends
yet.
on how it goes, probably. How it
So-
sells.
Sure.
But I'm guessing, interestingly, I'm trying to figure out how it's going to work, though, because is it a separate graphics device? You obviously can't run, if it's a NVIDIA card, you can't run SLI.
So you can have it run with Intel graphics, so switch back and forth between like the
So like Optimus almost.
Optimus, exactly. But you can't use the discrete mobile graphics card with it. So you couldn't use it with use your mobile video card as like a physics processor or anything like that. Not yet, anyways.
See, I guess my only problem with them doing this now is we just got that Asus laptop, has a 980 mobile, right?
Sure.
That thing is like 70% the performance of a desktop 980 part.
Right.
Do you really want to have an external graphics, the size of a milk jug sitting next to your computer that when you go on the road, you no longer have access to? Or you just want to suffer a little more of a larger laptop but has all the graphics?
So, I mean, I think
performance
you're not
with
going to
you?
be carrying this with you on the road. It's for when you want to game at home and you want to hook it up to your 2560 monitor.
No.
Right.
Then you can
it's
unplug it and take it on the road.
Yeah, it's and then they had, the demo that they showed me had a separate, keyboard and mouse
Right.
and the monitor. So basically, they're selling it as a full desktop experience. And then when you wanted to take it up on the go, you could.
No, but
You wouldn't carry the enclosure with you.
Well, I understand that because it's too heavy, but why not just get a bigger, gaming notebook that has a real graphics card in it that's beefy enough to bring with you? Although I guess, if you're talking about like an Ultrabook or, a tablet kind of getting desktop performance out of a tablet, that's...
Yeah, but we're not
maybe
there
makes a
yet.
little
It's just
more
with the
sense.
Alienware 13.
I mean, I think the appeal is that you could get a relatively inexpensive laptop because a laptop that's built around a 980M
It's gonna be
or an 880M,
expensive,
yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be pretty expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can get a much less expensive laptop and then plug this, in theory,
Right.
plug this into it.
Because you can buy like a 970, right? And then
Right. Or
that'd
you could just pull your video card out of your desktop PC. Or
Well, but then
somebody
why even
else's
have
and-
that then? I mean, if you already have a gaming desktop, then it's probably not worth it.
Right. Well, maybe you're upgrading to a newer video card in your desktop PC, and you don't want to just, let your old card collect dust. You can plug it into your laptop.
Yeah, you could.
I don't know, though. That's, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
don't
not
know
going to
how
be
it's-
like a cheap option, I imagine. It's not like you're getting in a $400.
Yeah, he was saying it was like $200
It was
just for the
$200
enclosure.
for the enclosure and power supply.
Right.
And
But I
here's the
mean, it's
thing-
not going to work with a $200 notebook or a Chromebook.
Well,
you know.
right now it's only Alienware 13 because you need the port.
Right.
on
And
the
this,
back.
and of course, this is a 13 here. Does this?
This is a 14, Alienware 14.
Oh, so it's
So
even
the 13
thinner, right?
is not out yet. I think it's shipping this week.
How small is the Alienware 13?
It is a little bit thinner than this, and it's an inch smaller in screen. So
Hence the 13. Is it? But is it?
how big is it? It's
Is it discrete
13
graphics? I
inches.
guess it must be discrete graphics. Then.
Yeah, I think it's like a 860. I think 860M. I want to say. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see if it takes off.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I mean it's always an option, right? I mean that's better than nothing. And then hopefully Alienware can get some consensus, and whoever's building their notebooks, maybe they'll like, hey, we're gonna do this on your notebooks too.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they open it up because it's like I was thinking about that just now. It was like, are they going to open it up? It's like, well, why would they? But then I guess they could sell the enclosure. They could sell more of the enclosure. But then I think it's probably more important to them to build their, to build
Right.
the brand, to get you to invest in Alienware, right?
Although it's going to be really interesting because I just don't know if people who buy mobility, like gaming notebooks, they really want external graphics. I almost wonder if that's why external graphics has not gone anywhere all these years.
If you can go from an 860, which is a decent mobile graphics card, to a 980,
Desktop card,
that
yeah.
is, I mean,
It's a huge difference.
and then you hook it up to a monitor, and then you have your own mechanical keyboard and mouse. And you don't do a lot of CPU stuff, although it does come with an i7 mobile CPU, obviously.
It's a quad part. No, it must be a dual because it's 13. Is it a dual or quad?
I think it's probably quad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I guess it's pretty thick.
So, I mean, basically, once you tuck the notebook away, it's like you pretty much can't tell that it's a notebook, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm glad that Alienware's giving it a shot. They've got the money to do it.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you guys remember Alienware used to make this awesome little gaming notebook? It was like just slightly bigger than
the M, like they had the predecessor to these.
Yeah, it was just slightly bigger than a netbook. I mean, it looked like a netbook size, but it had real graphics, and you could actually play a lot of games in its day on the notebook, where you couldn't, of course, on a netbook or.
I don't know. I'm mostly desktop guy, so
Yeah.
I don't really remember those.
No, it was really popular. So.
These are, I mean, people scoff at gaming notebooks, but they're getting pretty damn powerful now. Like
Yeah, would you
980M.
ever switch? I mean, for me, I could never.
Could I ever switch?
If you were sufficiently space constrained,
Yeah, I think it's good
I
if you
I could
live
see
in
a person
small,
switching to a laptop.
like a studio apartment or something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, I mean, if you had a 980M, yeah, it's pretty nice, and yeah, you didn't need all the. If you didn't have the space, you're, I suppose, in prison,
yeah,
or maybe.
yeah. Me at home right now, I'm running like a desktop with a Titan i7.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. Tom, turn off your cell phone.
It's on vibrates. It's not noisy, but then the motor's noisy.
Speaking of Tom, why don't we transition over to your topic, which is unlimited storage with OneDrive at a reasonable price. Is that right?
Yeah, so Office 365, it's the subscription version of Microsoft Office Suite, which you can subscribe to for $10 a month or $100 a year. And up till now, they would throw in 1 terabyte of OneDrive. What was that called before it was OneDrive? I can't even remember now.
SkyDrive?
SkyDrive, something like that. And just today they announced that Office 365 subscribers will now have unlimited storage. Now, I don't know what exactly if that entails unlimited as in, cell phone unlimited where you're, something gets throttled at some point. But
I don't know how they're going to throttle storage, though.
Right. It looks like they're not unrolling it all at once right away. There's a wait list, and they're probably going to stagger it so they don't get overwhelmed or something. But there's no additional fee. This is getting the storage is getting upgraded from 1 terabyte to unlimited. As a part of Office 365.
That's probably really great if you're like professional photographer or you do a lot of video editing. And do you guys use a lot of cloud storage? And would you guys need that much space?
I personally would not, but I know Josh Norum, who used to work here.
I'm sure Josh will test it out.
Yeah, he's a professional photographer, and he's doing super high res photos. And if you have a big collection of those, that's really gonna start adding up.
I think sorry, go ahead.
Hundreds of gigabytes.
I think prior to us recording, you were saying that you could upload up to 1 terabyte at a time. Is that right?
Well, that's for Google Drive. I was looking at some comparison stuff, and yeah,
gotcha.
you can upload files that are each 1 terabyte in size.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at least on the service that we have for our corporate email. I'm not sure if that carries over to regular user Gmail.
So out of curiosity, I don't actually use. I mean, I use like the free Google Drive and the free Dropbox and stuff like that. What happens when you don't pay your fee? Do you not get access to your storage?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually never investigated that. I assume that they send you an email warning you, hey, if you don't, your thing's about to expire. If you don't pay, then we won't be able to get access to your stuff. Maybe you just won't be able to upload anything. I don't know.
Gotcha.
So there is a danger there. Like if you have terabytes of data up in the OneDrive cloud, and your credit card gets stolen, you have to get a new one, and you forget like your OneDrive thing. Like you forgot to change that to your new credit card, and all of a sudden you're kind of boned. So
I wish you could pay instead of paying. I mean, the online thing is the online subscription fee. It's fine, but I wish you could pay for like to have a permanent cache. So like, let's say you paid, I don't know, $500 for a terabyte or something like that. Currently, nobody really offers anything like that, right?
What?
Where you pay like one time flat fee.
you just pay once.
Oh, you mean forever?
Yeah, forever, and you get to keep like 1 terabyte or something like that.
I don't know. That's not the way of the future. The way of the future is to make you pay all the time.
Well, costs also keep coming down. Like it used to be Google, I think they wanted $50 for 1 terabyte, $50 a month,
Sure.
and now they're down to $10. Dropbox is also down to $10 for a terabyte.
So I guess it comes with scale, I suppose.
I got to say, because I have Dropbox Professional for work, because we have to send files to the UK, and it's pretty nice to never worry about space. Not even think about it, you know? Because they really do have you with Dropbox, because it'll be like somebody will send you a file and it'll say like, oh, it's too big for you to directly download. What the hell? Why the hell can't you just download the damn thing? You need to add it to your Dropbox. Oh, your Dropbox is out of space. Would you like to add space? It's like, okay, I think I see where this is. You could just let me download directly from them, but no, you want me to add it and then I have to pay for it. Yeah, okay.
I think prices have gotten a lot more reasonable. I mean, you can get, I think, 100 gigabytes for $2 or $3 a month. That's like nothing, you know.
Yeah, but some people like having, you know, like owning, like myself included. Some people like, you know, owning it essentially,
Right.
as opposed to, you know, the
Getting
idea
screwed
of-
monthly.
I mean,
yeah.
you can
Exactly.
set up local network storage that can also be accessed over the internet. You know,
That's true.
That's a one-time fee.
Yeah, but then
Right.
you're in charge of your security and backup.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
trade-offs, definitely.
And that's, I mean, like, you know, my aunt couldn't do that. You know, it's not as easy as Dropbox.
Most people would rather just pay because, you know, honestly, like that, even for like Office 365, so you could pay what is it, 3 license Office 2013 was like 150 or something like that. I forget what it is, 100 and something. But if you do Office 365, it's basically $100 a year
Yeah,
for
it's-
5 computers.
It's $7 a month for a single user, then $10 a month for up to 5 users, plus 5 tablets.
So Office 365
Not
is
bad.
essentially Microsoft Office Suite in the cloud. Is that right?
Sort of, but I mean, you're honestly still installing it locally, but
So you have
Right.
like a fat
The
client.
the client is on your computer.
right.
I think it just checks in every like 30 days or so to make
It's-
sure your license is still active.
Yeah, it's not like you're using Google Drive.
Sounds
Google
like the landlord
Documents.
coming in, checking on his tenants, make sure no drugs or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
personally, I don't see myself going over to cloud Office suites or cloud Adobe for a while. I just like having to being able to access
Sure.
that stuff online without ever having to worry about will my internet work today when I need the license to be active. Because I've seen these programs shut you down if they can't connect to the internet and check if the license is active.
Right. Yeah, Adobe's actually pretty generous with cutting you off. But I think the thing is with Adobe, there's no option. It's either Creative Cloud or nothing these
Right.
days. So
I guess you can use the old legacy version, right?
I suppose, I don't even know if you
Are
can
they still
still
gonna-
buy Photoshop
Can you not buy them
6
anymore?
CS6 licenses. I'm not sure if you can
Interesting.
anymore. It's possible.
I would not be surprised if Office 2013 was the last offline version of Office. And in fact, when I got that Dell Venue 8 Pro tablet to review, it came with Office 2013, and now it only comes with Office 365. And that was like 6 months ago, and they've already switched over. And now you can't get the Office 2013 license.
Gotcha. All right, when we switch gears a little bit, Gordon, you have a couple of Chromebooks in front of you.
Oh, yeah. So I am actually still continuing to do a rundown test. This is the original Acer C720. This has been so successful for Acer, they've made multiple iterations of it. Core i3, a touchscreen version. This is the older one with 4 gigs. And actually, I have the brand new Samsung Chromebook 2, which I just finished reviewing.
I feel like it has like almost like a leathery texture to it.
Yes, it's
I'm
so
not
classy.
really getting
There's
that.
nothing like making
Metal, feel like leather.
plastic
touched
look
this
like
yet.
fake. Yeah.
Give it
I
a-
think they like went and talked to this phone division and said, you got that fake plastic leather mold somewhere? Oh, yeah, we still got plenty of that.
Yeah.
leather,
We're going to stick it all over our Chromebook.
with
So
Naugahyde on the top of your laptop.
I guess that'll fool somebody.
Yeah, so it actually looks a little bit different than the first one.
Even has fake
Yes.
stitching.
Well,
on
the
it.
original, the Chromebook that you
Interesting.
use is ARM-based. This is actually using Intel's Bay Trail, which I have a hard time not calling Atom, because I guess Intel did finally get rid of the Atom name because it's so suckage, which I told them that last
It's
year.
got some baggage.
This is actually Bay Trail, which is a Celeron, I forget, N like 2800 series. This is actually, the confusing part is this Acer 720 uses the Celeron, or uses a Haswell Celeron, so an N29XX series. This is an N28XX series. And that's the only way I could tell the difference. They're both Celerons. As you can imagine, a Haswell, even though this is locked, the clocks are locked down to 1.4 gigahertz. There's no hyperthreading, of course. 1.4 gigahertz, dual core. This is like a 2.16 to 2.8 gigahertz Bay Trail part. This Haswell, no surprise, whales all over this Bay Trail part, right? It's probably at least twice as fast in a lot of benchmarks. I also run just Tank Eye Online, which is a very popular game, flash-based. And, it's just very low, not exactly high-end graphics. This Haswell Celeron will give me about 30 frames a second. What I do is I connect them both at the same time to the same server. And on this Bay Trail Celeron, I get about 12 frames a second. So you can see there's a significant, very significant difference in graphics performance.
Sorry, can you see those numbers again?
30 frames a second, very playable, versus 11 frames a second, which is actually still playable.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Would you call it a smooth 30 frames per
It's
second?
a smooth 11 frames a second. And
you shouldn't have done that, Tom.
You actually were, of course, referencing a former.
No,
all right.
No.
That was not polite of me.
So you can. And of course, in Tank Eye Online for my test, I do lock. There's a manual setting for graphics, so I do manually set them. Hopefully that works. There's it displays frame rate, so just kind of maneuvering around, having the tanks next to each other, and they're on the same table, so it shouldn't be Wi-Fi. So basically, about a third of the graphics performance, at least, probably half or less of the x86 CPU grunt side. So not exactly the fastest thing out there. But it is a Chromebook, so who the hell cares?
Right, I was going to ask you, do specs really matter? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of funny because I just reviewed the big brother to this Acer. Has an i3 Haswell, so it's got a higher clock. I believe it has hyper-threading and a higher clock. It's basically as fast, practically, within striking distance of Google's Pixel, which is an older Ivy Bridge Chromebook.
It costs $1,300.
Which costs $1,300.
For a browser.
And let's face it, no one bought it except for people who work at Google, which they were given to for free, I'm sure. So actually, the C720 with the Core i3, great deal, but it was almost $400. And I don't know who the hell needs that kind of performance out of a Chromebook. I still recommend the C720 with the Celeron Haswell. But one thing I will say about this, Chromebook 2, Samsung Chromebook 2, is it's got phenomenal battery life. Right, so I think on this one, I'm actually doing a second rundown test just to make sure that I did it right on the C720. It's about 5.5 hours of runtime on this Chromebook 2, Samsung's Chromebook 2. I was looking at 7.5 hours of runtime. And then we do that using Peacekeeper, which is FutureMark's HTML test, just doing a whole bunch of graphically intensive stuff. Well, as much as you could say for a Chromebook anyway. You can see it does a bunch of physics, does a bunch of graphics, and it just continually does that. So realistically, you could probably use this Chromebook 2 all day, starting at 9 o'clock till the end of the day, and you'd be fine.
How much does the Chromebook 2 cost?
So the Chromebook 2 is $250, and I actually think it should be cheaper. I think it should be about $200 because you can get the original C720 with 2 gigs of RAM instead of the 4 gigs in this configuration for $199. And I think that's a better deal for somebody who needs more performance but doesn't need awesome battery life. 5.5 is very respectable. 5.5 running this benchmark, you're probably looking at 7 hours of runtime, honestly. This thing is probably like 10 hours, honestly. I think they rate it for 9 hours, but if you were just sitting there browsing and doing email, it'll go all day. And then we also do one other thing is I'll load up 20 different media, flash-heavy websites, and I'll just scroll down and see how bad. On the ARM-based Chromebooks, forget it. It's a horrible experience. And this actually is fine. It's probably about the same, just because it's obviously experiential. So you can scroll down the page. They're sucking at both of them. Chrome has a problem when you're using 2 gigs of RAM, right? So we're talking 2 gigs of RAM just for Chrome.
I wonder where those Core M CPUs will fall. Looking forward to those.
I think that'll be interesting if Intel actually does sort of a Celeron based Broadwell. I mean, that'll be significantly. That could be a big difference. Although I really think they want to push Bay Trail because they really. Core M Broadwell. That's going to be a fast processor,
right?
Relatively fast for the amount of power it consumes. For a Chromebook, it's probably too much. Unless the prices are right.
Yeah, I wouldn't see Intel putting Core M in a Chromebook. They're probably reserving that for the Windows laptops.
But the OEMs are the ones that decide to do it. Maybe somebody goes, "Hey, we're going to make a Core M Chromebook," and the reason, of course, we all laugh. I use a Surface. Jimmy's got this Alienware gaming notebook. Tom's got this S7. That's a Haswell based. None of us use Chromebooks every day. None of us use Chromebooks at all, frankly, right? But I still say Chromebooks have a purpose in life. Very rarely, probably 5% of the time, 2% of the time, but
they're extremely popular on
Amazon.
They
are hot sellers in Amazon, and they're hot sellers in school districts where they're cheap.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, for a school district, it's kind of like there's no support. there's no way a kid is going to wang up Windows, right? It's just going to be Chrome. They log in.
Yeah.
There's a problem. Hit the reset button. It restarts. It resets it. Everything is fine. Of course, in Windows 8, you can reset it as well, but
It's time consuming.
it's time consuming. Chrome is just harder for kids to break, I think, than
There isn't as much to
than a
break.
real OS. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about Windows or OS 10, right?
I mean, Chromebook by comparison, the Chrome OS is practically a kiosk compared to
Well, it is pretty much,
Windows.
Yeah. But it does have the basic functions. It has a word processor. It has Google Drive.
Right.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you're into Google's ecosystem and Gmail and all that stuff, and that's pretty much all you
Right.
use, then it's a great device for you. and
But
it's
you
very
can't do
cheap.
Skype. You can't do things out of
You can
other
do Google
people's.
Hangouts.
Didn't
Yeah, I
didn't
know,
they
but-
enable compatibility with Android apps now with Chrome OS?
They're adding that. I don't. Ultimately, who knows where the hell that's
That's
gonna
interesting.
end up.
Then would that open up the door?
It's
for
only
Skype?
some apps too.
Well, the problem with that I have with Chrome OS is that the app library was extremely small. It was just smaller than the Windows 8 store. And then they said they were going
For
to start
Chrome?
Right, for Chrome OS.
Wait a minute. Well, the internet is the application. So everywhere you can go
Right.
on the internet, you can go on
I
your
know.
Chromebook.
I mean, I
it's
know
got
that-
millions of apps.
Right.
Tom.
I know the Chrome browser does have some interesting stuff going on there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can see that. I mean, I can see that's why it's so appealing. They're cheap. You don't worry
and,
about it.
And you were mentioning, I don't know if we talked about this before, but you were saying it's good for travel. Like, I brought one down to Brazil when I went down to Brazil, and Gordon was selling me on the idea. Is like, if you get jacked or something like that, and somebody takes your notebook, it's not a big deal because you can just
You've
just change
lost
your
nothing.
You can change your password.
Right.
All your data is secure, and also it's $200.
Right. It's $200. You don't lose anything. You don't have like your entire porn collection of yourself as a celebrity on your device.
I put it
which
all
they've
on
long
my
lost.
Google Drive, so
Good to know.
and I have no password.
Right.
so-
Good to know.
But it's yeah. I mean, Chromebooks are. I don't know. I don't really know where Chromebooks are going to end up. I don't know.
I mean, I mean, we're getting emails about them all the time from manufacturers, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
Everybody's pushing them.
it's hotcake. These are hotcake items. I mean, people are.
You look on Amazon, and like 4 out of the best, 10 selling laptops are like Chromebooks,
Right.
There, something like that.
But I would never ever use a Chromebook over
Sure.
a real notebook. I mean,
Definitely-
for me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's definitely an improvement over the netbooks that we had a few years ago, which are running on the old Atom CPUs.
Right. I would take a Chromebook over a netbook. Yes, because at least I could browse with it. You can't even those old netbooks. Remember, you couldn't even watch YouTube videos. They were too slow for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, for Chromebooks, yeah. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to last. How much more of a threat it's going to become to Microsoft and as well as Apple. Actually, it's interesting. I read a column that because Apple has traditionally been a really strong seller in education, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can hear you drinking your drink.
Excuse me.
The way you drink your drink.
Yeah.
My microphone is up a lot higher than usual.
Yeah. So, and they're displacing Macs. They're displacing Windows machines in education. So,
Yeah, it's a very interesting outlook, a future that it has. So we'll see where it goes. All right, why don't we move on to editor's picks? Hope you guys have something ready. My pick is over the weekend. We finally got our Oculus Rift Development Kit 2, which is a biatch to set up. I will say, it's a lot harder to set up than DK1.
well, you're saying you like it now? After man, he was swearing up a storm.
No, it was. I mean, you were there. It's very confusing to set up. It's very complicated.
It was also kind of frustrating because it took them 8 weeks to ship it.
It was more like 9.5 actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well,
took-
plus
it
you
took a
said,
while.
I think our unit is DOA out of the box. They're
Yeah.
like, well, we'll see if we can help you. It's like, hey, how do I return it for a
Yeah,
one
when I
that works?
contacted customer support,
Can I
they
get an
gave
exchange?
they gave
Can
a
I talk to
very
somebody.
vague answer,
Yeah.
and I was like, in
Well,
case.
like Gordon says, customer support's expensive.
Yeah, and to be fair, it isn't a consumer product. So if you're thinking about buying it,
You would just think with Facebook's deep pockets spending, what was it, 1.9 billion?
2.5, I think, something like
Something
that.
like
A lot
that.
of money.
That Oculus could afford some better customer support than that.
Yeah, or like be able to produce more units so it doesn't take 10 weeks to get a dev kit to somebody.
That's just how hot they are. So, what was the experience that you had once you got it up and running?
So one game that works really, really well with it, and bear in mind that the game is in beta. It's Elite Dangerous, and also it is called a Dev Kit 2 for a reason, so it's not officially out yet. But having said that, the experience feels extremely polished. I'm trying to work on a story right now about pretty much everything you need to know about the Oculus Rift, and we're gonna have a section about the best peripherals and best games and things like that. And Elite Dangerous plus Dev Kit 2 plus the Mad Catz X52 flight sticks. It's amazing because the game models the controls, the in-game controls
in the cockpit.
Yeah, the cockpit after the flight sticks that the Mad Catz X52 SciTech flight sticks. And when you pair this up with the Oculus Rift, you're essentially looking inside the cockpit, and the movements of your avatar character sync almost one-to-one with your real limb movement. So if you turn the stick left, you'll see the character, his arm move the stick left as well. And it's incredibly immersive as a result. And it scales really well, and with like positional tracking, you can like lean in and look around the cockpit. And the game is really good because most other games that I've tried, generally you have to use a keyboard and mouse and things like that. But if you have this flight stick,
and the joystick and the throttle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Then you can control the whole entire experience with the stick and your head. So the game also has like Minority Report like menus. So if you turn your head left, you can see like an on-screen like display pop up, and then with using the sticks, there's like a little D-pad on the stick. You can request like to land, and then you can enter the space shuttle and stuff like that.
Can you play Kenny Loggins or whatever?
Danger
Is it
Zone?
Danger Zone?
Danger
Is that Kenny Loggins?
I know of the song. I suppose you could play it in the background. I don't see why not.
I just was wondering. Might make it more immersive.
So again, it's not the game's not done, and the dev kit it's just a dev kit. But I mean, like a real legit VR experience, man. It's just right around the corner.
And you could pick up the X52 on Amazon and Newegg and other usual suspects for around $120.
Yeah.
When you say
Rated
right
pretty
around
highly.
right around the corner, like this is like a Las Vegas corner, right? It's like it's right around the corner, but that corner is fucking really far down the block.
Like
right?
Fusion Power.
So I haven't had the chance to try out Crescent Bay, but Wes, one of our coworkers at PC Gamer, basically said it was amazing. The resolution is a lot better, and field of view is better. It's lighter, has integrated sound, refresh rate's better, things like that.
Last I heard, they said that they did not intend to release that version.
Right,
That
but
they're just going to use it internally.
That's a prototype for the
demonstration.
It's the prototype for the consumer release.
I heard a rumor that, can you verify this, that they're actually tying the release of Oculus Rift to Steam Machine, so they both come out at the same time.
Oh man!
Sometime in the future, maybe.
Yeah, and then the lead game is going to be Half-Life 3.
Yes.
That would blow people's brains away if all three came out on the same day and were coinciding with each other. But anyways, if you do have a dev kit, then I would recommend Elite Dangerous, and you'll want to pick up the X52 flight stick with it.
So that's your editor's pick, is the
whole experience. Yeah.
It's so funny because you sort of left out that first part of take this fucking thing and throw it in the trash.
It's very hard to get up and running at first, but hopefully my article will be able to cover some of those growing pains. Anyways, Tom, why don't you go next?
Yeah, my pick is Lord of the Rings: Shadow of Mordor. I don't know if I have the title exactly correct here, but
I think that's right.
Shadow of Mordor is the key part of the title. I don't think you really need to be a fan of Lord of the Rings, but I think it helps to get some of the references. Mostly, if you like the parkour in Assassin's Creed and you like the combat model in the Batman Arkham games, then this game should be pretty easy to get into. I really enjoy the combat model of Batman. And it's there's a lot of story, but there's also sort of an open world, open environment where you're in Mordor, hence the name of the game, and you can wander around and just do random stuff just like if you were playing GTA or something.
And that's a very interesting gameplay mechanic, right? Or I guess it ties the gameplay together with the narrative in that your character, and this isn't really a spoiler, I think, your character actually dies in the beginning.
Yeah, he dies in the beginning, but then after that, he's like cursed with life or something. And so when he sort of dies in game, he actually gets resurrected immediately by this spirit buddy. And when that happens, the orc that kills you moves up in rank in this whole Mordor army hierarchy. And so you might meet him like again on down the road, but now he's all like big and buff, and he has these additional abilities that he didn't have before, additional immunities, things that he can shrug off that might have sent him running before. So that's cool. And then there's also an ability later on in the game where you can so-called brand these orcs and basically use mind control on them to turn them against their buddies. And there's all this potential political intrigue within this army that you can build like your own army, basically, and take over the orc army if you wanted to.
And it feels like a good PC port, I guess.
Yeah, I think it performs pretty well. I think and
it looks great, right?
The official system recommendations for hardware requirements, hard recommendations, I think those are a lot higher than I think most people need based on what I've read.
Okay. But then you're probably running like a beastly machine yourself.
I'm running a pretty nice system, but I've talked to other people and read other reports from other people who are running some relatively modest systems, like an R7 270 video card and maybe like an i3 CPU, and they seem to be doing fine.
Gotcha. Cool. And Gordon, do you have something you could recommend?
So actually, I'm going to pick the Core i7-5820, which we talked about last time, but I actually think that's my editor's pick, because I never ever have any really good editors. So that's a good part. That's the 2011 V3 new version. I think for most enthusiasts, that is the way to go.
8 cores.
Actually, this is the 6-core version for $380.
What's the name of the 8-core again? I should know this off the top of my head. The 5960 or something?
5960X. This is the 3820. And, of course, before this that $330 would only get you a quad-core. This is a 6-core for about $50 more. Yeah. So it's a hell of a good deal. Of course, you can buy cheaper DDR4. That helps. But yeah, I would take that over Haswell for my uses anyway, because it's just a better platform. It's newer. It's probably going to last longer. 1150 at this point, you're going to get maybe one more chip in Broadwell and then nothing. And I'm hoping 2011 gives you hopefully a Skylake E. I'm being very
ambitious,
hoping that you will get a Skylake E, or maybe there'll be a Broadwell E.
Yeah.
So you may get. I mean, you will get Broadwell E. But I'm hoping it'll take you all the way to Skylake E, since this is a Xeon platform and usually get one more out of it. So, and you can go up. You can always grow up to an 8-core processor.
Yep. Cool. All right, let's move on to a handful of reader questions. Let's see here. Starting with on Twitter, Kraz Ivan asks, Apple Watch, best watch ever or best thing ever? Until the Apple Watch 2 HD, that is.
Right.
Jimmy, this is for Jimmy, because he's been trying all the wearables.
All right, so right now I'm actually wearing a Moto 360, which is an Android Wear. It's the circle one from Motorola. And people are asking me how I'm liking these watches. And I was kind of a little, like, coming into testing them out, because I've been wearing like all three on and off, not at the same time. That'd be ridiculous.
Why not? Just wear them all at the same time.
I should.
Kids used to do those swatches.
I should, and then get on the Caltrain and be like, "Look at me, I'm cool," and then everybody's gonna think I'm a douche.
The cool kids used to wear like 4 or 5 swatches on their arm back in the back in the 90s. Maybe that was just the early 90s.
You've had some late friends.
Late 80s.
So anyways, I was a little, I was cautiously optimistic, I'd say, coming into it. I would say probably, Gordon, you probably weren't sold on the idea to begin with at all.
I wasn't sold on the idea, and I'm still not sold on it.
Sure. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
But you're still wearing it all the time.
Well, I'm wearing it to test for a story, but okay. The main problem is, the main problem is battery life. These things last about a day and a half, maybe a little bit longer. So that's essentially, you have to charge it every day. And there was one day where I didn't charge it, and then the following day it died in the afternoon. I think it actually died in a podcast recording, actually. I looked down, I was like, oh, it's dead. And I know with the Android, at least with the Android Wears that are out, they don't have this yet, but I believe Apple plans on putting it into the Apple Watch, and that's like sleep tracking, right? So if you're supposed to wear it,
It watches while you sleep.
so if you're
No,
if you're supposed to, essentially most people are going to charge it when they're sleeping, but if there's a function that allows you to wear it while you're sleeping, how are you going to do that if by the time you wake up it's going to die?
Well, you buy 2 of them. That way you
Oh
wear one
yeah,
while you're sleeping.
it's
and then
brilliant.
Problem solved.
Apple is brilliant at this.
Yes.
And then just beyond that, like just from my experience with these Android watches, so what you can do is you can check your email, you can read texts, and you can do little things like track your footsteps. And it's sort of a guesstimation, right? So it's like this is considered a step. I'm just like raising my arm up and down, so that's considered like a step every time I do that. And so what I'm trying to say is like what it offers, at least at this point, is not worth it. Your phone can essentially do everything that the watch can, except more so, and it does it better. Like, do you want to read email on a very tiny screen?
So is it a limitation of technology or just simply a limitation of this is just stupid?
I think it's well, it is, how I would define it is a solution looking for a problem. So I think there are some technical limitations to it, the battery being one. And then just the lack of innovation there. I mean, like right now, the number one thing is you can check the weather, you can read emails, you can already do that on your phone.
Does it hook up to your phone over Bluetooth or
Yes. So that's it's good that you brought that up. I almost forgot to mention. So it does sync up to your phone via Bluetooth, and what this means is that not only do you have to contend with the poor battery life with the watch, but it also drags the battery life of your phone down because it's constantly synced to Bluetooth throughout the day, and your phone is constantly pinging it, emails and text messages and things like that, and that drains battery life on your phone. And my Nexus 5's battery life is pretty poor already, but I've noticed about a 10% hit, I'd say. I mean, that's just from an experiential point of view. But yeah, I don't know. Like, unless there's big advancements in battery, I don't see how they're going to overcome this.
Does the watch communicate anything over Wi-Fi or is it just Bluetooth?
I think it's just, I mean, you can use it untethered. The functionality is very limited, however, so you won't be able to get your text and things like that. But you can, obviously check the time. But I haven't actually experimented too much without it. I mean, if you're not going to sync it up with your phone and you needed an Android phone, then it's not worth getting.
Right, and Wi-Fi also drains the battery, so you can make it last for a few days if you turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
And then just use it as a watch.
Right.
But then it will last at best like a week.
Yeah.
And a regular watch will last years.
Yeah.
So
I have a solar-powered watch right here, so don't even need to actually recharge anything.
Yeah, so you're not normally a watch wearer, are you, Jimmy?
No, I do. I wear a watch.
Okay. I'm just kind of wondering because, watches are so out of fashion these days. I'm surprised both you guys wear them. But they're very much out of fashion because especially a lot of young people don't wear them. They just they use their phone as their watch, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
and I was doing that for a while too.
It is actually a handy way to check the time without pulling your phone out of your pocket. I mean, my phone is large. It's really big, so I have to.
I think my phone's larger.
My
phone is larger.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's a problem.
But I just kind of I do wonder if this whole thing is just going to fizzle out as just being stupid. Especially I mean the Apple Watch, and I will say this, of course, I'm the world's biggest Apple hater, right? You can actually search that on the internet, and I am. But I think actually the Apple Watch looks like the most capable of all the so-called smart watches. But even so, to me it looks useless.
So actually, like before I tried on the Android watches, and we both saw the Apple Watch press conference together. They have like this little dial that allows you to like zoom in, and you can like finger tap apps. To me, after using at least these Android ones, the screen is so small that I feel like it would be cumbersome to try to like press multiple things on it. Like,
yeah, it does look kind of
so that might be
bad.
an issue. You might have to zoom in really close so that the circles, those Apple circles get really big.
What they need is a tiny little stylus that's like stuck into the side, and you pull it out with the pair of pincers that are all included on the other side. You're kind of like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, and then you can use it as like a shank as well.
Yeah,
in case you needed it.
Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I just It just doesn't look like this is going to go anywhere to me, even though, of course, everybody's looking for the next big thing to sell everybody on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is version 1.0. I was thinking, like, what if I was a designer and I could just have limitless options? Like, what would I want to do with this thing? And I was thinking, have you guys seen the movie Her?
No.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it.
So it's essentially a movie about Joaquin Phoenix stars in it, and he essentially talks to his little handheld device, and it works as well as like talking to like a real assistant, like a real person or something like that. So maybe if it got to that level, it'd be nice to like just be able to just, instead of reaching down for your phone, you can just constantly ask your virtual assistant to help you out. But then you'd look like a weirdo talking to your watch. And I don't know if people will get used to it.
Well, everybody gets used to it. I mean, everybody got used to smartphones and Bluetooth headsets.
Yeah, but it's still weird. Like I'm on the train and I don't want to do the OK Google and like talk to it and what's the word?
Yeah,
like,
well, especially because OK Google it's very interesting because now I will say now that I have had this iPhone, corporate issue iPhone 5, whatever it is, Siri is more interactive than iPhone.
Siri
Google.
talks to you more. Google's more about like getting things done, I'd say.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just sometimes where there's this. Apple has, when you use the Siri, it has this illusion of some intelligence.
Sure.
Whereas
it has a personality. Where Google is like
Google is like talking to a robot, like, oh,
Right.
hey, where's a good place to eat? Bloop, and you just get like a list.
Exactly.
Can't you tell me what the information is?
I think it's one of those issues where one is designed by engineers while the other is designed by
UI team.
designers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty clear that both, and Microsoft is in this game too, but everybody's trying to get to the point where you're not relying on a screen. It's just simply it recognizes it'll actually understand what you're telling it, right? You will have your watch, and the point where we're going to get to the point, I imagine, if it ever is going to get anywhere where it lasts a few days and you don't need your phone, or it basically is your phone and you talk to it and that's your primary interface.
I think we'll eventually get to that level of miniaturization. With our mobile communication devices.
I'm actually kind of surprised you actually back the whole entire talking to the.
No, I mean, but it just I can see what they're trying, but I will say it's quite possible they'll just give up and say, you know what, people can't even understand each other when they're fucking in your face, right?
Sure.
You think you can really understand what I'm asking you, and it's going to be processed, and it's hard for me to ever believe that there'll ever be an artificial intelligence or the ability for it really to know everything that I'm saying.
I don't know.
Because my experience with OK Google and Siri as well is it's useful 20% of the time because there's just a lot of shit it doesn't
Well,
get
for
right.
simple things like I say, okay, Google, navigate me home, and then it gives me directions and things
Right.
like that.
It's all keyword processing.
Right.
It's not like natural language processing where it understands what you're actually saying and can adapt to different vernacular and whatnot.
Right.
But
So-
I do see the point where in like 5-10 years from now, you'll have basically a cell phone that we have today squeezed down to your wrist, and that'll basically be your phone.
Right. I think you need to have it.
Much harder to lose that way too.
Yeah. So it has like a run tracker, right? So, but if you want it to, save your data, I think you have to sync it up with your phone. So then you have to run with your phone. So then why even wear the watch? Why just not just run with your phone attached to your arm?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of really dumb
Right.
builds out there right now.
I'd say at this point, just get like a Fitbit or one of those type of things if you wanted to do that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And apparently you can also tell the time on there as well.
Not
So-
bad.
But a lot of people run with their phones because they also use that to listen to music on. So,
Right.
Yeah.
although I actually used to just use an MP3 player. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, I actually do want to give a special shout out to Google because they're giving me those fat checks. But
Yeah.
But I was running. I was going out for a jog with my Nexus 5, and I fell down and I broke it. I landed right on top of it, and the screen shattered. And I was like, "Damn, do I want to buy like the Nexus 6? That's like $650, like starting." So a friend just suggested that I just call Google, and so I called their customer support, and I said, like, I broke the phone. It was my fault. Is there anything you can do?
Google's like, we knew 2 days ago. It's already been
No, and then they were like,
everything Jimmy.
they're like, we don't normally do this, but we'll make an exception, and you can go ahead and send the phone back, and we'll do express delivery of a new Nexus 5, a refurb, but it was as good as new. There's no dents or scratches or anything like that on there. And then they got it to me the next day, and they're like, you have like a week to send back your Nexus 5 or whatever.
You can also get tempered glass screen protectors now that will protect the actual screen of the phone itself from shattering.
Does that really work? Because it just seems like you would shatter both of them then.
Yeah,
I know, but it seems to work.
I had a case on it too, and it broke the case, so I can't even use that case on the new issued Nexus 5.
Call Google.
But anyways, I was kind of surprised that they sent the phone and there was no service fee. They paid for the shipping, so I just want to give them a shout out, and also they're paying me lots of money to say this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Maybe they're sitting in a warehouse on Nexus 5s. That's interesting.
A little customer service goes a long way.
Yeah. I was kind of worried because there is no store. It's nice going to the store and talking to a customer rep. Because they kind of have you by the neck when you have to call them over the phone.
So you're T-Mobile, or are you?
I'm on the T-Mobile network. Yeah.
You can't go in and say, "Hey, I broke this phone." You guys sell.
No, I bought it from Google Play.
Okay, interesting.
So. All right. Next question comes from @Sean D. Freeze. Is GTX 970 a big enough upgrade from a 660 Ti to be worth it? I play Shadow of Mordor, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, Battlefield 4, etc. at 1080p.
Well, I mean, without knowing what performance you're having right now, it's hard to really say. But, I mean, the 970 is a good card. Another one to look at is the R9 290, which I've seen getting down to...
$300? Is that right?
Less than... The regular 290 I've seen as low as $230 with the mail-in rebate. And the 290X is floating around $300, so that's another card to look at if you're looking to save some ducats while also getting an upgrade.
At 1080p though, is 660 Ti. I mean, that's
it should be pretty healthy.
Yeah. So
You know,
I don't know. Not in Battlefield 4.
If he's not experiencing performance issues, he didn't mention that he was. I mean, I would just stick to what you got if it ain't broke.
I would say get the 970.
Yeah, I would say if you want an upgrade, I would actually lean towards the 290 on the price point.
Fight.
I mean, it's like $100 less.
Well, I mean, you got to weigh the ecosystems, right? Because you get GeForce Experience, you get the whatever record your kill shot, whatever thing.
You can actually record stuff with the AMD cards now too.
Yeah, that's true. But if he's used to it, and I mean, I would definitely think you'd feel it. 660 for Battlefield 4, I don't think so.
660 Ti, so it is a little bit beefier.
Yeah.
Than the regular 660.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you overclock it, maybe it's like 670 level.
Yeah. You could try that as well.
Yeah, I guess.
That can be kind of risky though.
Yeah. Video card overclocks aren't generally as good.
Yeah, I can't recommend overclocking your video card as a rule because sometimes it depends on the cooling inside your PC and the quality
and
of
the
your
chip.
power supply and things like that.
Actually, so this question is actually very similar. So from Patrick McCullough. Is it worth upgrading from a GTX 760 to a 970? The 760 is handling everything just fine for me, but I wonder if reduced power usage might be worth it.
Oh, it's 110 better, isn't it?
Well, the 760, if I recall, has a TDP of 170 watts, whereas the 970 is 145 watts. So, I mean, it's about a 25 watt difference, if my math is correct. I wouldn't say it's really... I mean, if you live in the UK, where electricity is a lot more expensive, we do have some UK listeners and readers.
He lives in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so his electricity is relatively cheap, and I wouldn't... You're going to see, like, literally pennies of difference on your monthly bill under ordinary circumstances.
Well, what if he lives forever, Tom?
If he lived forever, then I would upgrade to
So you're saying no,
to the 970. If he is an immortal being, that will be an issue. Yes.
Okay. Brendan Turner asked, should I buy a Radeon R9 295X for 4K gaming, and would they work in SLI?
Well, yeah, technically they'll work in SLI, but you'll need. I would recommend an LGA 2011-3 motherboard to get enough PCI Express bandwidth for all those cards.
Mm-hmm. And of course, he means Crossfire.
And the motherboard actually has
SLI.
No,
it will not
SLI.
work in SLI.
Yeah, right. The motherboard actually has to support 4-way Crossfire, and not all motherboards do that, even if they have 4 video card slots on them. There are some edge cases.
He's saying 295X2, right?
He wants.
Yes.
I think he said he wanted 2 of those.
So he was considering buying one, and
Right.
he was wondering if they work in SLI.
And
And he called it SLI. It's just kind of it's kind of interesting that SLI is synonymous.
They refer to it interchangeably. It's sort of a generic term for multiple video
Yeah,
cards.
it's kind of a good win for NVIDIA if they kind of like
Yeah.
almost control that terminology.
Well, then there's also what's it called, patent dissolution, where if you don't defend the name, then it becomes generic and you lose
like
rights.
Kleenex or whatever,
Right.
that type of thing.
But
Do you think a 295X2 is enough to play 4K? A single?
Depends what settings, right?
Yeah.
Depends what game. So
I would definitely turn off anti-aliasing, but at 4K, I don't think you really need much anti-aliasing to begin with. So I haven't really, in my experience.
Right.
I guess the idea behind that is like everything is just so crisp that
Yeah, you're getting a much better pixels per inch, pixel density than you are with like a 1080p monitor or 2560 monitor.
Do they have 4K projectors?
I haven't seen any.
Because then it'd be interesting if you like ran 4K, but then you blew it up. So then you might need AA on that.
Yeah, I mean, but I haven't really been looking at projectors lately, so maybe some 4K units have come out.
Gotcha.
But I mean, if you want to run 4K, also the 295 cards draw a whole lot of power as well. The 290, it's basically...
So the guy that lives forever, he wouldn't want that card.
Yeah, it's basically a 290X multiplied by 2, and the 290X cards have a TDP of, I think, 290 watts. So you need some serious power to do 2 of those.
Yeah, you'll need a big fat power supply.
Yeah, you're talking about like 1600 watts. Let's go all the way.
Right.
Just the biggest you can get.
Right.
And those aren't cheap.
And FYI, we also ran 2 of those for this year's Dream Machine as well. So
Yeah, we did in 2011, and then AMD actually did recommend that generally you will need 2011 for the PCIe bandwidth. But I have actually seen systems, interestingly, with 295X2s that were just fine.
Yeah.
So
I think cost-wise, I would go with 290s because you can get those so cheaply, whereas a 295X2 I think is like $1,000 around there. I saw some price drops on that.
I haven't looked at
the original price was
recently.
$1,500, so now that you can get a single 290 for $250, or you can get a 290X for around $300, I would get those individual cards, I think, rather than X2.
Well, one thing I got to say, though, is 4K worth it? Because, I have heard the other arguments.
I
Like,
would say not now.
These wide aspect ratio monitors are just pretty nice, and they really don't. You don't have to push a lot of pixels to get them. And is that better than 4K?
2560, I'd say, is better than 4K right now, if you ask me.
Sometimes with those super wide aspect monitors, you get older games that just don't recognize the resolution.
Yeah,
but things just break.
Yeah, if you're playing Pac-Man, that's all right.
And also scaling issues, man. That is still a thing. That's just still a thing you have to worry about.
What do you mean, Windows UI?
Windows UI or like Chrome.
On 4K? You mean on 4K?
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about like the wide aspect.
Oh, no. But I'm talking about like making the argument against the 4K as of right now anyways. Like, do you want to buy like this beautiful monitor and then you use Chrome like 90% of the time when you use your computer and it looks like shit?
Well, although here's the other question, though, because we have that Acer 4K panel. Tom just did a video on it. What do you think about G-Sync with 4K? Is it because you don't have to push as many video cards because of G-Sync technically, right? So...
Yeah, I mean, it's what G-Sync does is it eliminates screen tearing. It's not necessarily going to make your game look as though it's performing faster. Just
you can disable VSync, which is.
But it is acceptable, though. You can get a smooth 30 frames a second. I thought.
That actually might be in a case of a smooth 30 frames per second, or as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I personally think that 4K is just not quite ready yet. Both there's a couple different factors. Scaling.
Hopefully, Windows 10 will scale better at 4K.
The prices are getting really nice, though. Now that you're getting $600 for a
I think
TN 4K.
like a really good solution is the 2560 by 1600 monitor with G-Sync. I think it was like 30 inches or something like that. And if you could throw IPS on there, that'd be great. Like that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was 28 inches, but it costs like $800. The G-Sync monitor, the one that we're talking about, the 2560 is also...
It's a little pricier than a regular
and it's also
TN.
TN, I think, as well.
Yeah, they're both TN.
Yeah.
But if you had that in IPS form, then that would be like, right now, that would be like the perfect monitor.
Yeah. Then it would cost probably like $1,500, $2,000, who knows.
Yeah, I'll just
a lot of ducats.
Just put it on Future's dime, it's okay.
I'll just expense it.
Yeah, just expense it. All right, so that brings us to unfortunately, Gordon's very last rant. So, go ahead and cue up the music.
No pressure.
It better be the best one ever.
I doubt it.
Class, listen up. Gordon's going to present his rant of the week.
Who's the dumbass who came up with this idea? I mean, what kind of a fucking loser? You're wasting your fucking time. total fucking loser. I hate all this shit.
Here's one thing I want to know. So obviously, we're spending a lot of money. All these companies are spending millions, well, probably hundreds of millions of dollars to develop a smartphone, right? Why can't someone just make a Bluetooth communicator, right? Wouldn't you all want an original Star Trek communicator? It doesn't have to be a phone, but all it has to be is a speakerphone with a big-ass battery because it's not small, and it would just, hook up to your phone by Bluetooth, and it would work just like a communicator.
So it's kind of like this, except in Star Trek form.
You need the holster as well.
Well, you don't need the holster because
I would want the holster.
He wasn't a holster. They just somehow magically stuck onto their pants.
Really?
Yeah, and why? How come all that
The
shit didn't just
Velcro.
pull his pants
Maybe I'm
down?
thinking
Right?
of the
They didn't have
phaser.
belts in the
It's
23rd
Velcro.
century.
Really?
But no, I mean, really, come on. I've seen there have been hobby communicators. I have plenty of toys and replicators that look, or like things that look just like the Star Trek communicator. But why doesn't Samsung or HTC or even fucking Apple make a Star Trek communicator Bluetooth phone?
I think if they put that, it seems like a kind of a Think Geek thing.
It is a
I
Think
definitely
Geek
kind of
thing.
think it's
Well,
get
Think
there.
Geek should work on it because
Yeah.
I would buy that. Like, I
would
would buy the
totally buy
stupid
that.
smartwatch. But I
Absolutely.
would totally buy the fucking communicator. You'd flip it open, it would make the noise,
Yeah.
and then you could talk on it like a speakerphone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that you could sell millions of those fucking things.
Yeah.
I would buy one. I'd buy
Gordon
three
would
of
buy
them.
a million of them himself.
That's easy. I mean, but the waste time in these they're just flushing money down the toilet. If I were Motorola or Samsung, I would just you know what? Nobody's figured this shit out. We're just going to wait until somebody figures this shit out. Then we're going to do an Apple and just copy that shit, right? Because that's what they should do. Why bother to do all this?
Right. I feel your pain.
Yeah, right, because you would buy it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think Jimmy would.
I'm more of a Star Wars nerd, but
All right, let me ask you this, and I may have already talked about this, but what did the Star Wars armor do, right?
the Stormtrooper armor?
Yeah, what did it do? Nothing.
Not a whole lot.
First, why is it white? It's like, don't you kind of stand out as a target?
Maybe if you're on Hoth, I think it was. Is that the snowy one?
No, those had different snow trooper
Yeah.
armor for that
Yeah.
shit.
Oh.
But think about it. So it didn't work against blaster fire from the rebels, right?
Okay.
Didn't do anything.
Okay.
Also, Ewoks could kill them with arrows and rocks in this armor.
Were they actually piercing the armor with that?
Yes, if you watch Return of the Jedi, they're like hitting them with the arrows and it's sticking through the armor.
Interesting.
It makes for a great Halloween costume.
But it doesn't do anything. It's not armor. Don't call it armor if it's not actually armor.
Right.
Has there never been a time where it actually did anything?
Have you ever seen it stop
Interesting.
anybody? No, it's never stopped anything. It doesn't stop blaster fire. It doesn't stop
Certainly
rocks.
doesn't stop
It doesn't
lightsabers.
stop bows and arrows.
Hopefully, we'll see them change that in the upcoming Star Wars films. They'll
I-
come out
I-
with a new
they're gonna-
version of.
I kind of want to see like badass stormtroopers that are scary.
Oh,
that
that would be the good. So the redo of Star Wars, if the stormtroopers are actually badasses, that would be like, oh damn.
Yeah, like each one of them are like the T-100.
They were
something.
actually pretty capable in the prequel movies.
Were they?
Yeah, they're all based off of Jango Fett, who was the bounty hunter.
So then the cloning thing, they just got dumber as they made more clones.
I think they just-
eventually,
they
right?
just kinda-
that
That's probably
cloning
what
error.
happened. Yeah.
They kind of made that stuff up.
I'm just saying the fucking armor did nothing ever. It never did anything, right?
I think you're probably right on that. Actually.
Okay, here's another thing. Now I've realized this. Do we really know if Han Solo dumped that spice? Right, I got to get my last Star Wars rant in.
The spice.
Well, we don't know. He was smuggling. Look, fucking, right? What's his name? Jabba was paying him to make a delivery, right? And then Han says, "Even I get boarded sometimes. I had to dump that spice." The reason why Jabba sent, what's his face, the fucking guy Greedo, poor Greedo there to get fucking murdered by Han, is because it's like, Han, we know you didn't dump that fucking spice. We know you sold it, and you're just trying to screw Jabba over on it. I mean, he's a fucking drug dealer. He's a drug runner. They're already lowlives. He's a drug runner.
Right.
So what's to stop? He probably just stole that fucking spice and then just sold it to somebody.
Well, at the very least, any smuggler with his salt is going to put a tracker on the package that if he has to dump it in deep space somewhere, he can always come back and find it.
Well, but that's why they sent. Yeah, I know. It's like it's in space. I think they can see the stuff floating in space, right? So they.
You'd be surprised, you know.
Or maybe they dump it in hyperspace, right? So
Right.
I'm just saying, though, he didn't dump it. Han Solo actually took that spice, fucking sold it on the black market. It happens all the time. This is like every single episode of Miami Vice.
He definitely had the most interesting character arc in the original trilogy.
But yeah, he was a fucking lowlife, right? Helping the rebel scums. This supports everything I've been saying, that really the Empire has not been evil this whole time.
It's just a misunderstanding.
No, but think about the rebels. I mean, there's like a duly elected government here, right? And they're overthrowing it. They don't like it, so they overthrow
But
it.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but they did blow up planets, Gordon.
We don't even know that. We just know what we saw in the Star Wars documentary that's biased because it was made from the rebel point of view. Believe me, history is written by the victors.
Well, they could have faked the destruction of Alderaan, just put some fake image up on the screen, like they think it's a window.
I
But it's
mean,
actually
they are
on the
literally
screen.
the dark side. How do you explain
How-
that?
Well, how are they literally the
What
dark
good
side?
guys-
Who's the dark side? Where is the dark side? What's your proof?
I'm pretty sure
That's
Alderaan
what they-
actually got wrecked because at the same time Obi-Wan was like, I felt a great disturbance in the Force as a million voices are crying out and it fell silent.
But again,
Wow, Tom, you actually know your quote.
all that is what you're seeing in the documentary Star Wars,
Right.
which, as we know, was made by the rebels. You think they're going to make this documentary
the
saying
winners write history.
Alderaan was blown up because they were either cooking meth or maybe they were experimenting with weapons of mass destruction.
I'm going with weapons here. They were doing some sort of exotic weapon, and the Empire was worried that this thing was so exotic they would like rip a tear in space time and destroy the universe. So they had to stop them. The only way to do it was to blow up the planet.
Right. So at the same time, look,
there's two sides to every coin.
they have basically an admitted, drug smuggler working for them, right? And they're paying him. He's a mercenary too. He's not only a drug runner, he's a mercenary. And he stole that load of spice from Jabba.
And he shot Greedo.
That's an unsolved murder.
That's a murderer.
Right? Which the rebels covered up, right? Because originally the surveillance photo shows this. Have I talked about this before? I don't even remember. So originally the surveillance photo shows Han shooting him first.
Right.
And what does it look like now?
Yeah.
What? Huh?
It's good.
Greedo firing
Revisionist history.
because it's doctored. The rebels are covering up for their history.
Yeah.
They overthrew a legitimately elected government.
You've shattered my world, Gordon.
I'm just saying it's I can't believe it. If you think about it, Han just actually took the spice shipment and sold it himself.
I've seen that movie like a million times, and I had no idea that he was trying to transport spice.
Well, spice.
Yeah.
Right, spice, whatever, crank, whatever. I mean, whatever you want to call it.
Spice.
It's a drug that's
Ice.
killing a lot of people.
Right.
And again, I pointed this out before, but look, the rebels condone slavery, right? Empire abolished slavery.
They? Who were the slaves?
Oh, because remember on Tatooine, whatever Anakin's mom was a slave.
Oh.
So what did the Jedi do? Hey, kid, we're going to take your kid because he's got potential. What about me? I'm a slave. Yeah, whatever, lady. I mean, come on. Where's that nobility,
Yeah.
right? Empire takes over.
Gives everybody a job.
No, look, slavery's gone. They've abolished slavery.
Yeah.
And the Hutts, organized crime, run underground. Look, he used to be attending those pod race things. He was like kicking off the pod races. Once the Empire took over, organized crime gets suppressed, and I've talked about this before, but it all adds up. You got a drug runner working for them, mercenary, going around just blowing shit up, destroying government property.
You get a kid with a lightsaber cutting people's arms off in the
Yeah,
bar.
you don't even know what that guy was saying.
Yeah. You could have been like, hey, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, I'll buy you a beer. Hey, that's a cool haircut. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think they did that in Robot Chicken.
And this is really why you're leaving, right, Gordon? You're to write the
To write my Star Wars script, which I'm going to send back in time and fix things.
Cool.
Wait, you know what so we're at Toys R Us. Now, when you're parents, and you will be one day, and you go to fucking Toys R Us, which is like, Toys R Us is like, you never want to, you got to get like your kid blinders in there, something like that. So we go there, Glenn is playing. Oh, Marianne wants to go look at, the
Your
whatever,
kids.
the
Well, yeah.
princess stuff.
If you're bringing your kids in Toys R Us with you, you've already lost.
Right, but we had to go buy a present. Marianne wants to go look at the, the Frozen crap, right?
Sure.
So Glenn is like, hey, he was with his friend. They were like playing the Xbox. So they're playing on the Xbox. So, we go and look at the princess stuff.
I gotta say, because the readers are like, you let your kid.
Yeah,
play
because they got the
Xbox?"
demo, right? Because it's like, it's better that he's playing with Xbox rather than going looking at stuff like Nerf guns that he wants to buy. Not going to buy it. It's called Amazon, right? But he's playing on the Xbox. And I said, it's like, hey, there's playing Forza. And I go up and I look at Forza. I was like, holy shit. I mean, they're like the fucking aliasing on consoles. And this is a next generation Xbox One, right? I realize it's not a PS4.
Yeah, it's a flagship game.
But holy shit, the aliasing was like
Step
jagged
ladders.
stair steps. It's like, I was thinking on the PC, we should all get together, pass the hat around, like use some of our excessive anti-aliasing and fucking give it to the consoles
Yeah, we
because
have-
they can use it, right?
Yeah,
we have way too much.
much.
I don't run 18x AA. What the hell do I need that for? I'm
It's
running
like,
4K.
It's like having a razor with like 16 blades on it.
Right, you don't need it. We've got an excessive amount of AA, and we should stop hoarding the AA on the PC and share some of that with the consoles. Because they could use it. I
Yeah.
mean,
They're
holy
using, like,
fuck.
the-
How
they're
could you
using-
even drive? It looked like they were playing with Legos in this fucking game. It was just like right angles everywhere.
How smooth was the frame rate?
I think it was
It's a
a
smooth
smooth 30 frames a second, but I'm just saying, I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I can't believe it looks that bad, I don't know if it's because it was on a smaller screen, but I can imagine it only looking worse on a television when it's
Yeah, on a
magnified.
bigger screen, it would look worse, I would imagine.
Yeah, if you had like a big ass 60-inch screen and the AA is that bad. But we've got extra. I got extra AA. You guys got. We all have extra AA. Yeah. We all get together. We have a
It's as
pledge
smooth as a
drive.
baby's butt, man.
We do a pledge drive and we give some of that AA. And we also have G-Sync now on the PC. So maybe
Yeah.
we could. So we take some of that AA and our excessive frame rates and we give some of that to the console users.
It was pretty funny because we had when Elena used to work here, she didn't really realize that console gaming had screen tearing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what about and then we're looking at some console game and I was like, that's screen tearing right there. And then after a while she was like, she couldn't unsee it.
She couldn't unsee. Oh, so
Yeah.
once she realized it was
Yeah.
That was mean.
it's like giving the blue pill to somebody to go into the Matrix or out of the Matrix, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a blue
You can't
or
go
red,
back
but
inside.
Yeah. Yep.
God, that would be horrible. I mean, although what's his face? The guy who betrayed Neo wanted to go back inside.
Right, he wanted to, but I don't think that was ever going to happen.
Cypher? Yeah.
Yeah, Cypher did, but yeah, I mean, I don't know though. I got to admit, it seems like inside would be better. I mean, that was some pretty shitty
Sure.
experience on the outside of the Matrix.
Sure. He was eating that juicy steak. I remember that. That virtual steak.
The desert of the real.
Were you going to talk about some iPhone thing, Gordon?
Oh, I was going to talk about that iPhone
Yeah.
thing. Holy
One-
shit!
one
Did
of
you see
9,
that?
right?
1 of 9. Where is that damn website?
It's a Twitter feed, I thought.
Yeah. You can Google it.
Well, it's also 1of9.com. But
so while you look at that, I'll just.
So now,
explain.
Jimmy, I think the interesting thing is Jimmy is saying he thinks the entire bent iPhone thing is just kind of overblown. But this fucking, oh, God damn it, I can't find it now.
Well, what does the name of the website refer to?
Well, because what happened was the iPhone 6 Plus came out, and they were the fuck being bent up, right? And Apple said, no, not a problem, all being overblown by the media, because there's only been 9 reports out of the millions of iPhone 6 Pluses that have been sold that have been bending. So, of course, this site, and I don't know if, I checked the URL, it may actually go back to Samsung, but it says 1of9.com. And they also have a Twitter feed, but basically all these guys do is scour the internet and look for pictures of bent fucking iPhone 6s from people.
And they're probably having stuff submitted to them, so snowball effect.
Well, yeah, and you go to their Twitter feed,
There's
and
been at least like 248, I want to say, submissions.
I do wonder if some people are like bending phones on purpose.
I don't think so because
Why would
I
you
mean-
do that to your own phone though, just to be on this website?
I don't
That's
know.
just
You'd be surprised what
lunacy.
people would do for 15 minutes.
no, but that's not getting you anything.
Yeah, but apparently the phone does not have a reinforcing I-beam inside it, so that's why it bends at that whatchamacall.
So is it
pressure
actually
point.
is it actually the 6 Plus that bends more? Because I think Consumer Reports did something and they said that the 6 actually is more prone to bending.
The regular 6?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at that.
Consumer Report.
I think they really kind of blew their testing on that, frankly. I mean, it looks cool because they've got the machines and they've got all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you know that the original dude who bent the fuck out of the iPhone 6 Plus, that, you know, had like 50 million page views.
Sure.
Because there were some kind of like people were saying, oh, no, you faked it. Because you look at the timestamp on the screen. At some point, it looks like the time is completely different. Like there's just like something not right. And he goes, yeah, you know what I did? He said, I actually got 3 iPhone 6 Pluses, and I bent all 3.
Oh,
He says, I didn't want to just bend one, right?
Wow,
Because
that's a lot of
and
money.
go to the internet because I thought that'd be irresponsible.
Right.
So he actually bent 3 fucking iPhone 6s, 6 Pluses, and then he used the one that had the best lighting. So that's why it's 2 different videos cobbled up, but he actually bent 3 fucking iPhone 6s.
Really, he didn't mention that in the video though. It's kind
No, he didn't, and honestly, he should have mentioned it because. But maybe that would seem like he's rubbing it in because it's like, dude, this shit is like serious. It's not like. And then of course, you know that one of the 9.com. I mean, they've got hundreds of these bent iPhones.
Yeah, it's like 248. I think I saw.
And I'm trying to find his Twitter feed, but you can look at the pictures, and it's what it is actually people posting pictures of them on their own Twitter feed. And then some people are like, I was reading one guy on Twitter. He's like. He has his new iPhone 6 Plus. His buddy's like, hey, you got the iPhone 6 Plus? He goes, yeah. He goes, does it bend? And he goes, no, that's bullshit. And he goes, can I see it? He goes, he shows it to him. He takes it out of his case and they put it on a flat table and it's fucking bent.
Oh.
It's like just got a slight bend to it, so not a big bend, but he's like, oh, fuck.
Shit.
So there's another guy who's like, I'm a huge Apple fan, but I just bent my second iPhone 6 Plus. So this is a massive fuck up, if you ask me.
Gotcha.
But the weird thing is I went and looked. It's like there must have been some follow-up, right? Because this shit is real. You're talking about like hundreds of these things?
With the iPhone 4, the iPhone 5, remember how it had that antenna problem where if you held it in a certain way then you'd lose your connection? At least with that you could put a case on it and basically prevent yourself from physically touching the parts of the phone where the antenna was having issues, but I don't know what you do here besides...
Maybe putting
Put it
a
in
case on it helps it.
I mean, you can
Steel case.
You can unbend it, but aluminum doesn't like that.
So actually, the guy in the original video, he said he tried unbending it and it only made the situation worse. And he recommended it.
Aluminum it loses its tensile strength really quickly when you start moving it around.
Yeah, it does not bend back.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I remember this brings up there's a weird place for it, but I remember this guy who was taking rifle sights, and he would slam the rifles on the ground. There's like plastic ones and metal, and he bent the hell out of all the metal ones, but the plastic ones were fine. Because plastic bends, then it just bends right back.
Yeah.
Yep. So plastic for the win.
Plastic for the win, and fucking
fond of
iPhone 6 for the lose.
Speaking of wrapping it up, you see that segue? You get it?
That was pretty good.
I think that's a pretty good note to end on, Gordon, right? Apple Rant.
Yeah.
Cool. So we got to end on Apple Rant, and that's from Gordon. And that's pretty appropriate, I feel.
Instant classic.
So speaking of wrapping it up, here you can check us out online at www.maximumpc.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can email us at maximumpcpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a message at our 24-hour No BS podcast hotline at 1-877-404-1337, extension 1337. You can subscribe to us on Google Play, iTunes, Kindle, Nook, and Zinio. On behalf of Gordon Ung, Tom McNamara, I'm Jimmy Thang, and thank you for listening.